Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for June 6, 2023, the Filthy Ritual Edition. We're going to save that story for the last story of this episode. We begin with a story from Reuters as the Ninth Circuit has created a significant circuit split around the issue of whether corporations can use forum selection clauses to shut down derivative shareholder suits in federal court. The Ninth Circuit said that the GAP could do so, even though it removed or effectively left shareholders without any means of asserting claims on behalf of the company for alleged proxy violations, disclosure violations of the Securities and Exchange Act. This contrasts with the Seventh Circuit, which reached a different conclusion, allowing, and now this the Ninth Circuit specifically said the Seventh Circuit was wrong. So we'll see if this Supreme Court will actually do anything about it. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, corporate ESG requirements are about to ramp up. How can you prepare? Well, focus on 3 key areas in your climate reporting system: collecting data, tracking regulation, and coordinating with ESG regulators. This is a really good article that will help you move forward. So I hope that you will check it out and incorporate many of the concepts they've talked about. Our next story comes to us from the Associated Press, or the AP. Pope Francis has warned the Vatican's missionary fundraisers on Saturday not to allow financial corruption to creep into their work, insisting that spirituality and spreading the gospel must drive their operations, not simply entrepreneurship. So we've seen the Pope speak out more recently about corruption, and his comments were made in a speech to national directors of the Vatican's missionary societies. Let us hope that his words will be listened to. And our final story comes to us about a new podcast called Filthy Ritual. Many listeners to this podcast enjoy true crime podcasts, and I'm certainly one of them. But we're seeing more podcasts around fraud and fraudsters. And that type of podcast is excellent for compliance professionals to listen to, because you get real insight into not only the mind of fraudsters, but also how they are able to con their marks. This is something that, unfortunately, we see from time to time in the anti-corruption world. Amoral people or those with no moral compass who think that it's certainly acceptable to bribe to meet sales quotas. So they fall right into the fraudster category. Check out Filthy Rituals. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.